Well, good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon when it is that you're listening to this webinar. We're glad that you're with us today. My name is Brian Allen. I am a senior career consultant with Career Management Partners, and it'll be my pleasure to be your host for today's webinar titled Networking for Success. And networking is, if not the most, one of the most important job search or career or life tools that a person can have. And so we want to explain some things about networking. There's a lot of misunderstandings about what it is. We also want to provide you some solutions about how you can make yourself a more effective networker, especially while you are looking for your next opportunity. But it is a critical tool that we're going to take some time to explore together, and we're very glad that you're with us today. Let's go ahead and get started. Our agenda for the morning or for the day is to look at networking and make sure we are on the same page as to what networking really is and why it is important. We'll talk about strategies for success and then look at some typical concerns or challenges that many people might have with the idea of networking and how to overcome those and some tactics in order to use to make you a more effective networker. And again, as that can benefit you throughout your life and your career as well. And as with all of our webinars, we recap our key points at the very end. Your objectives for today, in other words, what it is we hope you walk away with, the big picture here is that we're giving you some tools that will allow you to network effectively, easily, and naturally. Now, maybe those three words, those last three words there, you may not associate with networking right now, but hopefully you will see that they can be effective and easy and natural by the time our webinar is concluded. Also, we want you to be able to make networking a part of your ongoing professional toolkit that you can use in various stages and various times throughout your professional life. And we often also like to kind of set the stage with some words of wisdom, and Michelle Tullier is a writer who wrote a book called Networking for Everyone, and she claims that networking is as natural as breathing. We'll come back to that in a little bit, actually. All right, let's get into the definition. What is networking? Here is our definition of networking, the verb, not network, the noun, but networking, the verb. It's the process of activating current relationships and developing new ones in order to exchange advice, information, and referrals. So it's kind of a two-pronged definition there. It's dealing with current or past relationships, but it's also the adding and developing new relationships. And from those relationships, exchanging, by the way, exchanging is a two-way street, is it not? Exchanging is giving and as well as receiving. These are important concepts as we're going to go through the webinar to keep in mind. Network is like building a net of contacts, of people you know and people they know, and then utilizing that net in order to capture opportunities for you. And you think of it as a net. Every new contact you make is like tying another knot in the net, making it able to catch more things more effectively. Networking, many people wonder, why would someone want to network with me? I do not want to bother or be a pest or force myself on someone who won't want to know who I am. And that's an attitude that many people find that keeps them from being able to really grasp the power and the effectiveness of networking. Yes, we suggest that people will want to network with you for a variety of reasons. For many, they know you and like you and trust you already. That's the easy ones, the low-hanging fruit, if you will, that you can, those you already know and have some sort of a relationship, even if that relationship has had some time between the last time you saw that person or last time you engaged with them. Old memories don't go away through time. They stay there. So you can resurrect an older relationship through the process of networking, and that can be very satisfying. You may not know the person, but you may know a mutual contact. You know someone that they know, and that may be all you'll need in order to start talking to that person or begin to exchange things with them. Many people will understand why you are reaching out to them because they have been in your shoes before. It's very, very common in today's marketplace for someone to have been in between jobs themselves, and probably if they had any experience, any positive experience with networking during that time, they're going to be able to identify with what you're going through and show some compassion and be willing to help you out. Many people are just simply going to be flattered because you've approached them and asked for some advice, which is one of the things that you would want to exchange with people. And they know that if they do you a favor today, that you'll be more than willing probably to return that favor to them someday down the road when, who knows, in today's marketplace, you never know. Nothing is guaranteed. So the person who today is employed helping you because you're in transition, a few days or months or weeks or years from now might be in your shoes, and you're the one employed being reached out by them to help their job search. That happens. But we also think that there's something in the human condition that just it makes us feel good, special, important when someone asks for our assistance, when someone reaches out to us for help. Now, it's perhaps someone we do not know, someone like just barges in and demands our help. That's obviously going to have a negative reaction. And by no means are we suggesting that that's what you should be practicing during networking. As a matter of fact, I happen to have a philosophy that you can network in the wrong way and be guilty of what I call career panhandling. Of course, panhandling is often what is referred to the people who beg on the streets for something. And for most people, if that ever occurs, where someone comes up to you that you don't know and asks for money or something, that is a very uncomfortable situation for many people. A time when you would want that person to go away quickly and perhaps not see them again. You do not want to approach networking in that manner at all. You do not want to make any uncomfortable feelings happen between you and the person you're approaching. But we are going to share with you some tactics about how to overcome that. But the wrong way of networking can lead to damaged relationships, so you certainly don't want to do that, which is why it's important to learn about this, and I'm very glad that you've tuned into this webinar in order to gain some tips. But the reason people will want to help you is that networking, it makes the world go round. It is just that common, and it's just what happens. You've heard of the old cliche, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Well, I'm not suggesting that that is absolutely true, because it also needs to be what you know. You need to have knowledge and facts and skills. But you cannot ignore, nor should you overlook the significance and power of the people you know and the people that they know and that would be willing to introduce you to. Networking truly is an essential, time-honored, and respected career tool, not just career building, but career tool to be used throughout your career. Why is it so important then? Well, I'm going to be introducing a number of things to you today. One of the most significant that I hope you will retain and remember is this one here. And why networking is so important is because the 70 to 80% of the jobs that are filled each year originated through some sort of networking activity. Now let me take a moment and just let that sink in for a second. What I'm saying is that of 10 jobs that are filled, that people start jobs, of those 10 jobs, 7 or 8 of them never came from a job posting on the internet or on a company job website. That's the public domain. What we're saying here, and this is backed up by statistics of the Department of Labor, 70 to 80% of the people who get a job found their job through some sort of networking activity, not just on the internet. Now, when I first heard that, I was skeptical, but I've heard and I've seen that validated over the years. And so let me just let that sink into you. If you aren't networking, you are missing out on the vast majority of job opportunities that are out there. That's really essentially what we're saying. Yes, networking might require you to step outside of your comfort zone a little bit. Yes, networking might require that you take the initiative and reach out and make a contact with someone rather than waiting for them or someone else to reach out to you. Yeah, you may have to stretch yourself, and you may have to put yourself in situations that maybe are new and unique, maybe a little uncomfortable. Well, that's all right. That's life, isn't it? And if you're not willing to do the thing make networking effective for you, in fact, you are going to limit your opportunities. It's just that simple. But networking gives as well. It gives you more control over your career and allows you to meet some goals that you may set. And we'll be talking about some of those things during this webinar today. But that aspect of control, that's probably something you're not feeling very much of right now, is it? You probably feel a little bit out of control. I mean, you know, what perhaps wasn't your idea for your job to go away, as it has. It wasn't your idea for you to have to get in the game of job seeking right now. That's probably not something anybody really wants to do, but it's a reality. It's here. You may not feel that control. Well, networking gives you a way to gain control back, because you can make an impact on your career and other people's lives through effective networking. People will know that you have a vested interest in helping them and helping you succeed. And it is a two-way street. It's not just about what my network can bring or give to me. You really should think of networking as a two-way street, as a give and take, because you will be giving to people in your network, perhaps for no immediate recourse. You know, you don't expect someone to do something right back for you. You may just have to give to your network, and then later on you get it back. But again, the more you give, the more easily you'll get things in return. Most companies want to hire someone who knows somebody. This increases the odds of a successful hire. Now, a successful hire is someone that the company interviews, screens, makes an offer, hires, brings on board, and then that person stays with the company in a very productive state for many, many years. That's what every employer wants whenever they have an opening that they have to hire for. So, but unfortunately, that's not always what they get. Sometimes they hire someone who looks good, interviews well, the background check seems to go well, drug test, they cleared that, and they get on the job, and 6 months later, everybody hates them, and that person's miserable, and the team around them is miserable as well, and maybe they have to be let go. That would cause the company to have to go through the whole hiring process all over again, which is not only time-consuming, but it's also very expensive. So companies want to minimize the risk of making a bad hire, and one of the best ways that they feel to do that is to have someone hired that someone else in the group already knows. Someone who's already inside has given the candidate we're considering hiring a referral or a thumbs up or a good housekeeping seal of approval, however you wanted to describe it. That makes HR people much more comfortable about making a hiring decision if somebody around already in the organization knows that person. Well, in order for that to happen, you have to be willing to, lean upon and draw upon your network. Author Robert Kiyosaki, very successful book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, says that the richest people in the world look for and build networks. Everyone else looks for work. So what are you looking for in your job search? Are you looking to build your network, or are you just looking for a job? I hope that we open your eyes and your mind to some considerations about how important it is to look for and build networks. More reasons why it's successful. If you network effectively, you very well may find jobs before they're posted. And again, that statistic I shared earlier, the 70 to 80% of jobs filled that were never that came through some networking, many of those were jobs never posted on the internet at all. So, if you're not networking, you're missing out on those, and there's a substantial number of those every year, believe me. You can also use networking just to gain insight into your field, to learn more about what other people are finding in their world that may be similar to your world, and you may be in the same profession, they just approach it in different ways. Networking can help you be more effective. It can help you to build and strengthen relationships that you already have, as well as build new ones that you will have and enjoy in the future. Networking allows you to help people. Again, it's a two-way street. And then again, those people will be willing, probably more likely willing, to help you later on if you need them. So it's a reason to stay in touch. It also can help you, networking can help you stay current on what's happening in your industry or in the business world that you're in. And employers rely on networking to reduce hiring costs and, as I said before, again, to reduce the risk of making a bad hire. So these are all reasons why networking is important. Well, there's one more. It puts you ahead of the competition who are also applying for the jobs perhaps that you're applying for, or who are other people who are equally qualified, perhaps even more qualified for the positions that you are finding out and you're presenting yourself for. Well, you are in competition. Networking is the only way to access the hidden job market. And if that phrase is new to you, I would encourage you to Google that phrase at some point after this webinar in order to learn about that. And again, the hidden job market is also where that means many of these jobs that are never advertised are found, and that's why they call it the hidden job market. Okay, so how do we put this into effective use for ourselves? Well, here's the first thing I want you to think about. Networking will open new doors. Successful networkers think of networking as research that you do with other people. So that could be a way to reframe it in your mind. But research in order to obtain and exchange these three things: advice, information, and referrals. Those are the three things that you really want to center on as you're doing your networking. Now, if you look at the first letter of each of those words, that spells the acronym AIR. So I want you to think about networking is what you do to get air. And again, our quote earlier about networking is as natural as breathing. Okay, so breathing air, right? Advice, information, referrals. Those are the things that you want to center on while you're reaching out and building your relationships in a networking process. So let's look at some strategies. One of the most important has to do with time. How much time are you spending in various activities? Well, if in fact, as we have said, 70 to 80% of the jobs that are filled every year come through networking, does it not make sense that 70 to 80% of your job search time should be spent on some kind of networking activity? Whether it is reaching out and reconnecting with people you already know, or building new relationships and connecting with people that you have just met or are soon to meet. But that can't take up a lot of your time. It may be that might be a more effective use of your job search time than simply applying online to jobs that everybody else is also applying to, where you are not known, where you are an invisible, or where you're just a face in the crowd. Now, many people think that the only way to get a new job is to apply online and cross your fingers and hope that you're the lucky one. What we're suggesting here with networking is that you can be much more effective and much more in control by utilizing some of these techniques. And our research, our statistics, our life experience has proven to us that this is effective. And hopefully you'll find that as well. Here's some of the strategies. Everyone you meet knows about 250 people. That's not an exact, and this is from author Bob Burg, who also has written on the topic of networking. Some people know many more than that. Other people don't know that many, but on average, 250. So every time you meet someone new, you actually have the potential of expanding your network by 250 people every time. Now, again, we don't have the ability to necessarily test that here, but that 250 may be low for many people. For example, if you were to connect with me on LinkedIn, and by the way, I'd be happy to do that if you want to send me a LinkedIn invitation, but if you were to connect with me on LinkedIn, you immediately, after you connect with me, your network inside LinkedIn would grow by one first-level connection, me, but then also by over 1,100 second-level connections. And those are the people that I know that come with me inside of LinkedIn when you connect with me. So I'm one that knows more than 250 people. It's really a numbers game, although I don't want you to focus on numbers, because it's not just who has the most numbers is the best networker. But it is, the numbers are perhaps more significant than you may realize. Many people don't really have a grasp of what the power of their network or the scope of their network is. So let us give you a strategy for how to kind of get your handle around, or your mind around your network. So let's kind of define it. First of all, many people think that your family, friends, neighbors are the extent of your network. Those people you see regularly or that you have in your phone or whatever. That's not the entirety of your network. Certainly that may be the core of it, the heart of your network, but it's not the total extent of it. You also want to think about the friends of your friends or the parents of your children's friends that you may speak with on the sidelines on Saturday mornings while your children are playing soccer or softball or something, whatever, but your children's parents that you know are also a part of your network. People you may encounter at the gym, or perhaps people that you bike with, bowl with, fish or hunt with, or whatever your physical activities might be. If you are involved in your profession in some associations that relate to the work that you do, those people are a part of your network. People who may have attended the same schools that you did, whether or not they were at the same time, the fact that they went to the school that you went to makes them a networking possibility. I mean, that's enough of a connection for many people to consider you as a part of their network, and vice versa. If you've ever gone to any training programs and maybe spent 2 or 3 days learning time management skills or leadership skills or whatever, the people who were in those classes with you, many of those classes will share the names of the registrants with one another. Well, those names are, you've shared an experience. That's something that may be all it needs for that person to be willing to connect with you. If you spend time with organizations outside of your professional life, if you volunteer to the school board or the PTA or Habitat for Humanity or Red Cross or at your church or synagogue or wherever you may give of your time outside of a paid environment, those people that you encounter that know you in that way are also part of your network. People that you used to work with, maybe even years and years ago, that have perhaps faded into the background or you've lost touch with them, that they're still part of your network. Those relationships can easily be regenerated with a phone call or an email message. And don't overlook your own professional network of doctors and dentists and accountants and realtors and attorneys and tax professionals and lawn people. And oh my goodness, don't forget your beauticians and barbers. Those people are very well connected, by the way. And that is, whoever your barber knows is a one-stop introduction to somebody that might be able to put you in touch with someone at a company that you'd like to be hired at. So these are things to help maybe expand your idea of what your network is. Now, we don't have the ability, because this is a recording rather than a live webinar, to let you practice this. But in a live webinar, we would give you 60 seconds to challenge your brain to write down as many names as you can in those 60 seconds, no matter how you know them, no matter how well you know them. And it's kind of interesting when you put it on the clock, and if I were to say get ready to go, and you start writing, as you are writing, your mind is beginning to generate other names and bring them to your attention. And so within 60 seconds, it's not difficult at all to generate a list of 10 or 15 or even 20, depending on how fast you write. But if you were to give yourself more time, that list could grow and grow and grow, which was very important to do, because a list of the people who you are connected to is something that you need to have organized somewhere, somehow. And whether that's inside of your phone, where your phone contacts or your address book or whatever, maybe you have a paper Rolodex like people used to, those little cards that would be on your desk that would fit into a wheel that you could turn around and around. That's old technology perhaps. But however you keep track of the people that you are in touch with, you can add to that. And that's one of the techniques about networking, is that you make sure you find an effective and efficient way to capture the names, addresses, phone numbers, email addresses, birth dates, spouses, children's names, where they went to school, what they're interested in. These details about people in our network is very important for us, and we need to be able to capture and manage that information somehow. And that's part of your being an effective networker, is that you have a process and a technique in which to do that. Here's what we suggest. So when you have a list, you really need to kind of organize that list. And they're not all equal. They're not all going to be the same kind of power on your list or power of relationships. So we suggest that you kind of categorize any list into 3 different groupings. And you start with you, of course, and those people who are close to you that you know, that come to mind, that you see regularly, you have deep, long-lasting or long-term relationships with, those are what we might call your A-level contacts, the ones who are closest to you, that if you were to call them or email them, that you would get a quick response because of the relationship you have with them. So those are your A contacts. But then there are also the B contacts, and these are the people who are not quite as close, but still you have a contact, you have a relationship with, and if you were to call upon them, they would get back to you, but maybe a little bit later than the A-level contacts would. But you would not have to introduce yourself. You would not have to say, "Remember me." These are not the people that you've been out of touch with, but these are the people that are recommend you or recognize you, but you're not in touch with all the time. And then there is your C-level contacts, and really you don't have to go any farther than this. But these are the people who, you have lost touch with perhaps, and maybe you need to spend some time to reconnect and resurrect the relationship. Or perhaps they're people that you've just recently met and really have not yet had time to develop any kind of a deep relationship with them. But there's a potential there. Well, you need to, be aware of and kind of list the people in these different categories. And, we don't suggest that you have to go into 4, 5, 6 different levels. These 3 are good enough. But here's another life or networking fact that might surprise you. Your networking requires perseverance. You should follow up on every lead or new contact that you get. And part of networking is asking the question, who else should I talk to? But here is the unique thing. Research has suggested that most of those 70 to 80% of the jobs that are filled every year come through some sort of a networking activity. A vast majority of those, the person found out about the job not from his or her A level or B level, but maybe the outside edge of the B or the inside edge of the C level contacts, or the fringes or at the edges of your network. And that might be a surprise to many people. So, and maybe you can think back in your own work history to the various jobs, the job changes that you've gone through already in your life. Did you find out about all those jobs from your very, very closest friends, or did you find out from someone who knew someone who knew someone who let you know? That's what we mean by the edges of your network. So how do you kind of order and can keep track of those edges? Well, LinkedIn is a marvelous tool that helps you to do that in a very effective way, and it's so effective that it's become so very vastly powerful and popular in not only in the professional world, but in the world of, I should say, of networking, but it's also a tool that employers are using to recruit and to find talent these days. So if you are not in the world of LinkedIn, you really, really should be. It is a marvelous tool. You can sign up for the free version. No need for you to spend money on the advanced or the, what do they call it? I can't remember what they call it, the level you'd have to pay for. The basic version is very, very effective for job seekers today. And we hope that you get involved in LinkedIn. And if you don't have a profile now, you really should get one. Because LinkedIn is really now considered the center for professional networking activity. It is the Facebook of the professional world, where Facebook is all about where you went to dinner and what your cat's doing, that sort of thing. LinkedIn is about what your profession is. And so it is a little bit unique, but it is a social networking site, and therefore it is designed to allow you to expand your network. It makes it easy for you to connect with people, and as a result then grow and build your network inside of LinkedIn. Individuals use it all the time for their own professional networking and job searches, and employers are using it more and more and more. I have heard statistics like 95, 96% of recruiters have said in recent research that they use LinkedIn first when they have a hiring need. Now that is of a professional nature. If they're hiring truck drivers or people to flip hamburgers, perhaps they don't go to LinkedIn. They may go to the job boards first. But for professional positions, professional opportunities, LinkedIn is the favorite site for recruiters these days. And again, if you're not involved in LinkedIn, you're missing out on that. So in LinkedIn, you can network with your family, friends, former, current colleagues, college alumni, etc. You can join groups related to the industry that you're in, or some specific interest that you may have, or a school or company or alumni, or someone who is just following a person that you like to follow. And by the way, there are influencers inside of LinkedIn. People like Branson, Sir Richard Branson of Virgin Airways and Virgin Records and that sort of thing. And there's also all kinds of other Marshall Goldsmith and Malcolm Goldberg and all kinds of authors of business. Many of them have followers inside of LinkedIn where you can keep up with what that person's projecting or sharing on LinkedIn. And then you connect with the people who are also connecting with following those same influencers. You can also follow certain companies where you then get through LinkedIn automatic updates about what's going on in their world, as well as job listings and company information related to that company. And LinkedIn now has a job board feature that is getting bigger and bigger every day. And there are some people in my profession who are predicting that LinkedIn or social media is going to make the job boards like Monster and Career Builder obsolete within a very short amount of time. Okay, so I'm not going to go on about this, but LinkedIn really is an important part of a successful job search today. So here's some tips for your existing network. You need to set some daily goals of how many people you're going to reach out to each day or each week from your network. And these are people that you perhaps have lost touch with and you need to resurrect your relationship. And then set up calls, make emails in which to hopefully set up some face-to-face meetings. Those are the most effective thing. But this is part of your networking. Is not just a emailing back and forth. It is talking on the phone. It is seeing people face-to-face, sharing meals, cup of coffee, breakfasts, etc., etc. And then keep track of who you've talked to, when you talked to them, when you left a message, when they got back with you, what you talked about. Take notes on what the details of your conversation, any information or leads that they may have provided to you, and again, the time and when and the details. All these things are important. Again, the goal is to build relationships, not just to build numbers. So one way to build relationships is if you have a phone number, make the call. Don't just text. Even though texting is easier and a little bit more safe, perhaps, a call is so much more personal and effective as you're trying to network. And if possible, try to get a face-to-face meeting. Not a long one. A short 15, 20-minute cup of coffee can be very, very instrumental in all kinds of things. However, if you only have an email, it's okay to use it. If you're only connected on someone through LinkedIn, you can send them an internal mail through LinkedIn called an InMail. And again, they may want you to pay for the advanced version, but you can often find ways to send emails throughout that without having to pay for it. And then whenever you're connecting with someone through LinkedIn or maybe even on the phone, be aware of their time. They're doing you a favor by reaching or responding to you. So be conscious of their time and only take 15 or 20 minutes on the phone. And that may be all the best they can give you, and that may be enough. Now, growing your network is critical. You can network anytime, meet new people, add to your network at any time. There's all kinds of places. When you are at an event at your children's school or in sports leagues or PTA, we mentioned professional associations a moment ago. You may have the opportunity to go and travel and attend conferences or seminars or conventions of different things, or alumni events or job fairs. Again, many of us are involved in volunteer activities outside of our professional life where we encounter people. The chambers of commerce in metropolitan areas what's one of their main reasons for being is to connect business people to other business people. And so they have all kinds of opportunities, various kinds of community organizations that you may belong to or that you could meet up, join with. By the way, Meetup is another great one. If you've not discovered meetup.com, that's an internet site and a website where you can find people in your area who are meeting, who may share certain interests that you have, and that's a great way to expand your network. Obviously, religious organizations obviously have lots of opportunities for networking, as do social media sites. Again, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Snapchat, as well as meetup.com. There's all kinds of ways to meet people. And really, if you get the opportunity to go to a networking event, maybe it's an alumni fair at your school, or maybe there's a cocktail party, a meet and greet with the local Chamber of Commerce, and it's open to anyone. These are networking events, and there's all kinds of examples of them that you can probably access if you were in a near a major metropolitan area. They can be some things you can do every single day of the week. If you're in a rural area, or if you're just not near a big city of some sort, they may be less opportunity for this face-to-face sort of a things. But let's say that you're going to maybe a job fair. There's a job fair at a hotel not far from you, and you decide to go to that. What do you do? There's a lot of things to strategize about, but one of the most important things that you need to do is to be able to answer the question, tell me a little bit about yourself. That's not really a question, is it? That's a request. But how you will hear that. You'll get someone who meets you will have, either if they're thinking it, they may not say it, but chances are they'll say it at some point. Tell me a little bit about yourself. You need to anticipate that that's coming your way and be ready to answer that question. And the way to do that is what we refer to as having prepared your 30-second commercial. A commercial about yourself. Well, yes, you're telling about yourself, but you're telling about yourself in a way that might the person may want to learn more about you, or the person may find as they're listening to you, they're beginning to imagine and recognize ways they can help you connect with someone you're looking for. Well, all of that can come out of how you present yourself as you talk about yourself. While you're giving your 30-second commercial, it really is not so much a history lesson as it is a future lesson, what it is you want to do, the next step in your career, what you're excited about now. Be careful not to dwell too much on the past. There's really very little good in dwelling on the past, but instead talk to people about what you're looking for next, or what you're curious about, or what you're excited about. Those are the emotions that are going to bring people into you. And you need to have that 30-second commercial practiced to the point where you can deliver it not just with memorization, but with energy and conviction and authenticity, to where when they hear it, they think that you're really talking about you and you're not just saying something that somebody wrote for you that you've memorized. Now, it can be something like, I'm looking for a mid-level manager sales position with a manufacturing organization that'll allow me to capitalize on my past success in order to help them grow their organization. That could be something like a 30-second commercial. That's kind of a short one. But these are things you can practice ahead of time so that when you have the opportunity, you don't stumble. You don't have to search. You kind of already have in mind what it is that you want to say. And then what is it that really is going to make someone interested in you? What is unique or special, or what makes you stand out in the crowd? And don't be modest. That's not a good attribute to demonstrate while you're in a job search. You need to be able and confident in talking about yourself in a positive way. Some other strategies. Before going to a networking event, consider having some personal business cards printed up for yourself. Not your past employment business cards, but personal business cards that you get for yourself. And there's a number of places you can go. Any office supply store like Office Depot or Office Max, I think they're merged now, but Staples, FedEx Office, which used to be known as Kinko's. I mean, there's all kinds of places that will print things up that you can go in and you can buy with fairly inexpensively 150 or 200 business cards that you make up for yourself that has your contact information, but instead of a job title that you held at a company, on your business card, you're putting your brand, who you are and what you're about in the professional world. And you can call yourself whatever you want, but you need to be able to back it up, of course. But you can call yourself a marketing guru if you want. I mean, there's all kinds of things that people can put on their business cards, but again, you have to be able to back it up. But so having some business cards that you can carry with you at all times, frankly, but especially at networking events, so that you can pass them out. That's a way to connect with people face to face. Again, you don't have to have your title. It can be your brand. You need to think of ways to make that card stand out. Maybe some key strengths or highlights that you take from your 30-second commercial, or maybe you put something on the back, although we do recommend leaving a lot of white space on or clear space on the back of your business card, for the simple reason that if you're sharing business cards at networking events, when someone who has done this before collects your business card, chances are they're going to turn it over after speaking with you, and they're going to write notes on the back of your card about your impression that you made for them, or what you were looking for that they may want to be helped in follow up with, or what they said they would do, or when you're going to have coffee. Anyway, the back of the card is a great place to take notes. So we encourage you not to fill up the back of your card with more of a commercial, but you do need to have your card be a kind of a commercial. We do also recommend that if you are a member of LinkedIn and you have a profile, every LinkedIn profile has a unique address inside of LinkedIn called the URL, and I used to know what those letters stand for, but they've escaped me right now. But anyway, that LinkedIn address that you can highlight and copy from your LinkedIn page, you can add that to your resume, you can add that to your business card, you can add that to your bio, whatever paper collateral that you're using to share your information can have your LinkedIn profile on it. And here's just a number of other things to think about if you're going to go to a networking event. Try not to go by yourself. Go with someone. And you want to make quality contacts, not just a bunch of them. You want to be enthusiastic, but you need to have realistic expectations. Do not expect that you go to a networking event and the perfect job's going to fall into your lap. That can happen, but don't expect that. Be aware of what you have to offer as well. Again, let me reiterate that networking is a two-way street. It's not just what you can get from others, it's also what you can share and give to others. So be aware of that. Take notes on the back of your business card, the business card you collect, I should say, about the person you have met and what you thought of them and what you're going to do to help them. Be generous, appreciative, and responsive while you're talking to people, and optimistic and positive energy with you. Be curious, ask a lot of questions, and then be an active listener to what the person is saying back to you. And be open-minded to new possibilities. Be careful to not fall into perhaps your routine of finding why things don't work, or why someone would not be able to help. That's not the right attitude to have during a networking event. And you do want to focus on building trust and rapport with people. And trust is the sort of thing, it's so important. And if you can create a first impression that someone walks away from meeting you having considered you competent, likable, positive, and someone that they could respect, those are the conditions that are necessary for a person to trust you and therefore be willing to help you out in your job search. So be careful. You have to cultivate that. Okay, so some solutions and tactics, and then we'll be done. Many people are challenged, well, if I'm networking with someone, what do I ask? What kinds of questions would I ask of them? And there's no one answer to that. There's lots of potential answers. Latest news, emerging trends, people who I should meet or avoid. Sorry, I got a little far there. What companies might I need to add to my target list? And we'll talk about that in a moment. What is a target list? This is a list of companies that you would like to work for one day, that meet your criteria for employment. Whether or not they have a job opening right now is not the issue, but they're of the right size, or they're in the right industry, or they are of the right culture, or perhaps you know a lot of people who work there, or perhaps it's close by to your home with a short commute. Whatever your reasons, you should have a list of companies that you would like to work for that you can target. And then as you are meeting new people, this becomes a topic of conversation, your target list. It helps you. It's a very effective tool for job seekers. Keeps you focused, motivates you to be proactive and make things happen rather than wait for something to happen. It allows you to have networking conversations, and it is research that you can do on companies, then that you have the opportunity to show your knowledge, or that you have done your research. It helps you to visualize your goal, being able to see yourself going to a plant or an office building or sitting in a place. That's part of the mental game of keeping yourself energized during your job search. Research has shown that candidates who have a target company list of anywhere from 20 to 30 find jobs faster than those people who have no target list and will work for anybody. Now, I'm not saying that you eliminate any other jobs during your job search and only focus on those that are in your target company. That's not what I'm saying. However, having a targeted company that meets your needs, irregardless of whether they currently have openings or not, is what we mean by having a target company. And you need to have 10 or 20 of those in order for you to be able to focus and be proactive with your job search. So if you reach out to people and you ask for advice, what kind of advice can people give you? Well, you can say things like, what can you tell me about the companies on my target list? Are there any that I should add or maybe remove? What do you think about my resume? Would you be willing to look at my LinkedIn profile and give me some feedback? I would appreciate it very much. That's asking for advice, by the way. What other career paths should I explore? That's more advice. How can I use this transition to grow my career? That's advice or information because they may be able to relate what they had gone through previously. What advice would you offer a job searcher? What feedback can you share with me? Now that one is a little difficult and challenging perhaps because, you know, they may share something that we didn't expect or maybe don't feel so good about hearing. But feedback is very, very important throughout your work life but also during your job search time. What kind of additional contacts can people give me? And well, you can ask for introductions. Again, that's the referrals to anybody who might give you more information or maybe have better advice to give or maybe have been through a similar situation than you and closer to what you're looking for than the person you're talking to. Maybe somebody inside a company that you're targeting. You'd be very surprised to know, well, not to know, to discover who knows who in this world. It's really a fascinating phenomenon of how small the world is and how closely we really are all connected. But we're unaware of it unless we start asking and unless we start reaching out to our network like this. It can open doors to the people who may ultimately have the authority to actually hire you. And they may also be able to introduce you to recruiters who may be looking for someone like you. And maybe you also could get introduced to somebody who actually has the authority and the power and may be looking to hire someone just like you themselves. You'd never know. Now, getting started, maybe until you're more comfortable talking about yourself, you may want to create some scripts, especially if you're going to be reaching out to someone on the telephone. Scripts like, what you would say, like if you're an actor, what you would say. But again, you're not really acting, you're being yourself, so they need to be authentic and natural, so you have to rehearse them. But you may want to write down what you would say to the person that you're reconnecting with, and in order to engage them in the conversation that you would want them to have with you. For example, so Bob, I'm calling to let you know that I'm currently looking for a new opportunity. Your advice would be really helpful. My goal is to find a sales management role, and I'd love to land at one of these companies. And then you recite your target list and say, do you know anyone there? What do you think of my plan? Any ideas come to mind of other companies perhaps that I should be focusing on as well? This is how these conversations can easily get started that you are in control of. And you can have a separate script for maybe different events that you may go to or different outcomes that you would want. But again, a script can be just a way to help you kind of overcome the hurdle of not knowing what to say at first. Now, the more you do this, the more your conversation will come naturally. But if you're not comfortable, a script could be a way to help you get over that hump. And another great thing about networking is that, you don't have to do all the talking. You can break the ice by asking questions like, what do you do for a living? How did you get into that business? What do you like about your job or your company? What challenges is your organization facing? What about the industry? What changes are going on in the industry? What's your background? What's your education? Just ask these kinds of questions. That is a way to get a conversation going or to extend a conversation. And then what advice would you have for new professionals, or what advice would you have for someone in a career transition, or whatever? These are great questions to ask. And questions are powerful because when you ask a question and get the other person to talk, well, neuroscientists at Harvard have said that about ourselves triggers pleasurable sensations in our brain, similar to what food and money does. So If you ask the right questions and have a series of them that you're prepared to ask, at the end of the conversation, the person will have done the most talking, but they'll think of you as fantastic contact because you're the one asking the question, allowing them to do the talking. A little psychology involved there. Think about networking as a new project. Try to get better every time, and whether you blow it or really think you've done a terrible job, you may need to reevaluate. So debrief a networking event. If you went with a friend, that's one of the things you can do. Is, well, what did we learn? What went well? How did I handle myself? What could I do different next time? Do your research now before you go, and if you have some targeted list, there's no reason for you not to know some of the basics of not only the history of that organization, but also the current situation for these companies. And with all this, the information on the internet you can go to learn about companies you want to work for, companies that are moving to your area, companies that are hiring, industry trends that are going on, professional associations, networking events, educational workshops. These things are at your disposal, so there's really no reason that you should ever present yourself to someone and not know about the company or the organization that they're involved with. Not know some. You don't have to be a student of them, know an inside and out. But if having done no research can expose you to ridicule, or to someone is less willing to help you if you really hadn't taken some of the first steps. Follow up every time you meet with someone. We recommend a personalized thank you note. It can be an email, it can be a handwritten note, but it needs to be sent soon after you've had the meeting with someone. And then don't just let that be it. Stay in touch. Come back to or circle back to people on a regular basis. Let them know what your search is like and how your progress is. Invite them again for lunch or coffee or drinks. Share things that you see on the internet that you think perhaps they'd be interested in, or maybe articles in the newspaper, or programs on the television that you may have seen that may be related to something that they're interested in, and share that information. That's giving to your network, by the way. And then when you land, not if, when you land your next job, share that information with the people in your network, especially those who have helped you in the way, and thank them for helping you along the way. And then again, don't disappear from their lives. Stay connected in some way. Now, networking success, there's all kinds of tips. Stay engaged with everybody that you can. Be positive. Be willing to listen to feedback and not to argue or correct feedback. That is a mistake. That can hurt you. If you're going to ask for feedback, you have to be willing just to receive it graciously. You can ask for clarification, but don't challenge or argue about it. But be willing to give something, give an idea. Here's a new restaurant I've discovered. You love it. Or here's a solution to this software problem that we were talking about the other day. Whatever you can give, again, that's the two-way street. That's part of networking as well. And don't expect to get whatever you want immediately. It's not going to be instant gratification. Embrace social media, but ultimately enjoy the journey. Networking is a journey. It's a lifetime skill, a lifetime attribute. It's not just something you roll out when you're looking for a job or have a strong need for something. Okay, so the key points. Your attitude is critical. How you approach it, how you see yourself, how you see others, how you see your future. If that's not in the right order, your networking is going to be more difficult. Develop a good 30-second pitch, elevator speech, whatever you want to call it. When someone asks you, tell me something about yourself, that should not be the time you begin to bring that answer together. Be organized, prepared, be willing to follow up, keep track of who you've talked to and when, and have current and accurate email and phone numbers and street addresses and spelling of names and companies and titles. All the data that's going to be in your job search, you need to make sure it's up to date and correct. There are networking opportunities everywhere, and again, the larger the community that you're a part of, the more of them there will be. But you need to use your existing contacts and go through them and say, okay, I haven't talked to Susie in a while, so I'm going to plan to call Susie next Tuesday, and actually put that on your calendar somewhere. And go through that and force yourself to do that, and force yourself to take notes on when you called, what Susie said, if you left a message, what should you follow up, what she said she would do, etc., etc. And then don't just rely upon connecting with your existing network. Find ways to expand your network. Maybe there is a group of professionals that you would like to get to know. Well, maybe they have a professional association that you could volunteer to help out at an event. There's all kinds of ways for you to expand your network. And don't just go for the numbers. You want to have meaningful connections where you'll be remembered and people will remember you. But look at the opportunity to do this as a journey to enjoy. The more positive, the more focused you are on doing this the right way, the more you'll be able to be effective in your job search. You can start this right now. Here's your homework, if I may. I want you to think about 5 people in your network, and it could be your A, B, C list, it doesn't matter, but someone on your list that you'll be willing to reach out to tomorrow. And when I say reach out, I mean make a phone call or send an email. Therefore, for those 5 people, you need to get their contact, find their phone number, find their email, how you can reach them, and then commit to following up with them. Find a new group that you can join, perhaps in LinkedIn, perhaps in the community. But get all the information you need to know in order to how to join that group. And then decide on how many outreach goals you're going to set for yourself for a daily or weekly so that you can continue this. It's not just a do it once thing. You need to continue this. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's our information about networking. I'm sorry I've kind of gone over time, but I think the information was very valuable and hope that you've gained some things and gotten some thoughts and perhaps even got maybe a little excited and energized about the idea of networking. If you have questions or comments about this program or any of our services, feel free to contact us. Our address is www.careermp.com. My name has been Brian Allen. I'm a senior consultant. I'd be happy to engage with you on LinkedIn or through email messages. You can find me at careermp.com. But we hope that this has helped you, and that's our goal, is to help you with your job search and the rest of your career. That's what we're about. And this has been a presentation of Career Management Partners. We wish you the best of luck with your networking, and we hope to see you at another webinar event soon. Thank you, and good luck.